Hey guys, we're back with the rating climb 606. We just crossed the 600 mark and we're playing against the 655. So let's attack the center. We'll play a different opening. I think somebody in the comments had asked for the Ruy Lopez, so we'll play this instead. I do like the Italian game. I think at the lower levels, you get a lot of tactics here, but let's change it up a little bit and put the bishop on b5. And we're not really threatening this to win a pawn here. If you take that and take the pawn, there's going to be queen d4, which actually forks these pieces, and black gets the pawn back and has a nice position. Queen to f6, interesting move. Whenever I see the queen come out so early, it's move 3, the queen's coming out, I want to start thinking about, can I attack the queen? So I'm going to play the move knight to c3. It's a developing move, and it gives me the option to hop into d5. I also could think about d3 or d4 with the idea of bishop g5, but I really do like just hopping my knight in, and I think that's going to force the queen to go back to d8. Otherwise, we have a fork. And so black's going to lose some time, and I essentially get my knight in the center for free. So that looks pretty good. And of course, I'm not worried about my bishop because I have a stronger threat on the queen. And typically in the Ruy Lopez, when somebody attacks your bishop, you usually drop back to a4. And so I think that's what I will probably do. Okay, queen to d6, another option that does defend here. It's not a great move for black because it blocks this pawn. And so this bishop's going to have a hard time getting out. So what I don't want to do is take here. That would be a terrible move because then black recaptures this way, lets the bishop out, and attacks my knight. Now my knight has to leave, and all of a sudden, I think my advantage is basically gone. So I think we definitely have to either go back here. We could always go like back somewhere here, but I think this is kind of the typical idea. So we'll keep it on this diagonal for now. And after b5, which I'm kind of expecting, we'll go to b3. And then we've repositioned it on this one. Of course, I'd like to castle, and I'd like to get my bishop out as well. But let's see what black's going to do first. Okay, so they are attacking my knight. And if you look, there's two pieces attacking it, only one defending it. So what are my options? Trade, counterattack something, or defend. So let's just talk about the move c4, because I think a lot of people might think of this, and it's maybe not a bad move. What I don't like about c4 is that the d4 square now is a very good target for black to potentially hop a knight in there at some point. The other thing, if we look carefully here, is there's also an attack on this pawn. So it's kind of a double attack by black. And so with that in mind, I think probably the simplest thing for me to do is actually just to trade, and it solves both of those problems. I could also go back to c3, which isn't actually maybe as crazy as it looks. But I think for simplicity's sake, I'll just go ahead and trade off the knight. It removes both of those threats, and now I can kind of finish what I'm trying to do and just castle. And I'm still thinking about the queen, and maybe a move like d3 or d4 followed by bishop g5 to put pressure on the queen comes to mind. Also just finishing my development and putting my pieces on good squares. Okay, knight to d4. So there is a threat on f3. If I allow black to do this, what's going to happen? Well, I'll probably take. He'll probably take. I'll take. It's not terrible, but it does expose my king and kind of give me some bad pawn structure. If you imagine if this pawn captures, I would have an isolated pawn. I'd have some doubled pawns. Don't really love that. And so with that in mind, I think I will go ahead and trade just to avoid messing up my pawn structure. Now black is the one who has the doubled pawns. Okay, so let's continue with trying to get my pieces out. This bishop has been sitting here, so let's play d3 to let it out. Okay, so obviously the bishop is attacked. Don't really have any counter-attacking options. I mean, I can play the move e5, but I think I'll save that one for later. Let's just retreat the bishop. And by the way, e5 is an idea because the queen can't take me, or I would pin it with the rook. The question, though, is why would I want to play e5? I don't think it really... I mean, yes, it attacks the queen, but other than that, and especially now, it opens up this diagonal. I don't think I want to play that right now. So I'd like to develop this guy, but there's not really a great option right now, right? I can't go here or here, or the queen simply takes me. And I can't go here, or the pawn takes me. So if I'm going to develop it, the only square is to d2. Now it is a move. It's still developing. It's still getting it off the back rank. It's better than nothing, but it's not like an incredible square. So what I think I might do instead is I'm thinking about playing a move like queen h5 or queen g4, and notice how it defends the square. And it gives me the option to now develop my bishop to a more aggressive square on g5. And also, if black were to castle, it would set up a little tactic where I could win the exchange. So now I'm kind of thinking through both of these moves, and does one make more sense than the other? Also, maybe f4 is an idea, just kind of gaining control of these center squares like this, right? So a couple of moves are coming to my mind. I think the thing about queen g4 and queen h5 that I'm wondering is what's going to happen after the pawns start chasing my queen around. So for example, if I go here, if black plays h5, do I like that? Am I okay with that? What about if I go to h5 and black plays g6? What's going to happen? Am I okay with that? That one actually, I see a nice move. Bishop g5 could be a follow-up, and if he takes, I take. Yeah, I think I actually do like that. So with that in mind, I think I will play queen to h5. And again, the point is I want to develop my piece, but I want to do it on a good square, right? And d2 is really passive. I'd like to play the more aggressive bishop g5, so I'm giving myself that option. Now, if black really wants to, they could play h6 and stop me, right? And I would have to do something else. But okay, they do play g6. So this is an interesting move here that I was mentioning. The move bishop to g5 offers a queen trade. Takes, takes. But then black's pawns are going to be completely messed up. My bishop is actually going to be forking these guys. So that looks pretty attractive to me. But let's consider all the options. What if the queen takes my bishop? That's fine. I can take it and also save my queen. What if the queen moves somewhere else? What if the queen goes here? Pins me. Not really worried. I could drop the queen back, and I'm pretty happy with that. Okay. What if the queen sacrifices for check and then takes me? So I would be losing a pawn in that situation. However, again, black's pawns would be all messed up, and I have my bishop, I have my rook, I have a very aggressive position. I still like the look of that. So having analyzed that, those are kind of the main moves that I can see. I am going to play bishop g5. You have to be careful when you play moves like this, where you're leaving your queen to be captured, because if I would have overlooked something, it could be dangerous. But I think I've covered my bases, and I think we're fine. But just be careful, because sometimes players will try to go for these advanced tactics, and they'll just miss, one little thing, and it comes back to bite them, right? But in this case, I think we're okay. Okay, so our opponent does decide to save their queen and leave the threat here. All right, so now obviously I have to move my queen or it's going to get captured. But what I do like about this is that this g6 move did create some weaknesses on these dark squares. So we're going to be keeping an eye on that. And in an effort to potentially exploit that, I'm going to just drop my queen back to h4. And it keeps, it's setting up a battery with the bishop so that I can go here if I want to. And it's defended, right? So I don't lose my bishop. And also forks these guys. Now I'm expecting, okay, I was expecting black to play bishop g7. They did not. So I think I'm going to go here. There is a tactic that I want to be aware of. g5. So the point is, my bishop is currently defended. But if black plays g5, it's no longer defended because it cuts off my queen. And if I, let's just say, move my queen, I would lose my bishop. That would be very bad. However, after g5, I think I can just take it, take that pawn, and notice that black's pawn can't take me because I take the rook. Okay, so I'm just going to scan. Do I have any better moves? Like, does it make sense to sacrifice here for a check? Where's the king going to go? Do I have a good follow-up? Not really. I don't think that makes sense right now. But I think I will go for this move. And if the rook just moves over, then I'm happy black's king can't castle, and I think that's fine. So yes, from what I've examined, I think this is a good move. Let's play bishop to f6. And I'm noticing the time, 3.5 minutes. So I'm starting to get to that point where I'm going to start, planning to move a little bit faster. Just because the game is still, it looks like there's still quite a bit of the game left, right? We're not like about to get checkmate, I don't think. We're not about to go into an end game. So I do want to move a little bit quicker. Okay. So again, there's this idea, but again, I still have bishop takes g5. So I think we're fine. And black can no longer castle. Okay, they can't castle this way, and they can't castle this way right now because of the bishop. All right, I would like to kind of solidify my bishop there with e5, but I don't know that I want to necessarily open up this diagonal for the rook just yet. f4 also looks pretty good because if I can get f5 and capture, it opens up my rook. I do like the looks of that. Let's play f4. Also get the added bonus that it helps control this g5 square. So if this ever happens and for some reason this tactic wasn't available, I could also capture with the pawn. So it kind of gives me lots of options. But really what I want to do is play here and take this. And black's in a tough spot as to what exactly are they going to develop next. They can't really develop the bishop here. Um, these squares just don't look like great squares for the bishop. Maybe g7, but then I have the tactic of just trading and taking the pawn. So I think black is in a bit of a tough position right now. Okay, so they do go for bishop to d6. I have the option if I want to push this pawn with tempo. Again, I'm a little bit cautious because opening up that diagonal, I do have to be careful. So with that in mind, I think I might just play f5 and continue with my plan. Yeah, I think I will. I don't want to open up this bishop and you know, allow any queen bishop checkmate ideas. I could pretty easily defend it, but still, why even give black the option when I have a good clear plan here of opening up my rook? So f5 it is. And again, on g5, probably just taking it, making use of this tactic. Very common tactic when your queen is on h4 or a4 or something. If the pawns push forward, a lot of times you can just take them because there's usually a rook sitting back there, and if it's not defended, you want to keep that tactic in mind. All right, so black makes a very bold sacrifice of sacrificing the bishop. Now, if I take with a pawn, it looks like they're trying to push here and open up the queen, which, okay, it's something I could probably just sidestep and I would be just fine. But I could also take here with the queen right away, and it looks like a better move because there's a fork. So that's what I will do. And black is now in trouble, and so it looks like we're going to take the rook. I'm just scanning. Are there any better moves? Like, is taking here a stronger move? It very well could be. No, but this is checkmate, actually, as the king is stuck on the back rank. So there, that's got to be the best move. Okay. But this is also a very, very good, you know, attractive looking move. Opening up my rook, forking these guys. Lots of good things happening there. But of course, this is just checkmate in two. So you can't beat that. Okay, I think our opponent played very well until the end there with that blunder. They fell apart. They won a rematch. I will play them again because I think they did do a pretty nice job with that game. And so let's play them again. Let's play the Scandinavian again. We'll see if we can do another maybe Icelandic gambit if they accept that and try to hold on to the pawn. So after they take here, we're going to play the move knight to f6 and try to recap. Okay, they don't. So I will go ahead and we'll go into this, you know, end game sort of where we trade the queens. White loses castling rights, which I'm happy about. And like I've said before, what I like to do is get both of these pieces off as quickly as possible. Castle queenside, which unleashes the rook on white's king. So and maybe I'll actually do it in a different way here. I'll play bishop to d7, and what I'm going to do is castle, and then I'll have a discovered attack with my bishop. Sometimes can be tricky for your opponents to see. So if you want to set a little trap, you can do it this way. Okay, they're going for the fork, so I'm going to castle, which defends that. This is also defended, so I'm not worried about that. And now we have that discovered attack or discovered check that I'm talking about. I can move this bishop wherever I want, and I will be putting the king in check. So it opens up moves that aren't normally available to you. For example, if I wanted to, I could go bishop to h3 because it's checked. Now, do I want to go there? Probably not, but it is an option. I could go here and take this pawn. I think what I will do, though, is first just deal with this. So let me just play e5 here. Cut down the bishop and defend my c7 square. Keeping this move in the back pocket. There's a double check here, which is almost checkmate if the king goes here. But if the king goes here, I wouldn't be able to. So that's kind of why I'm waiting. Let's see what white's going to do. Okay, they took it. So I think the easiest thing here is just to take this. Again, I could go for this threat. And if they move here, it's checkmate. But if they move here, it's not. So I'll just capture this. It's probably a good try, actually, because there's a good chance the white might actually go for there. Okay, let's go over here. Now the knight's actually trapped. Because if it goes back here, I do have this discover check that we mentioned. Yep. So here we go. You can see how this is coming into play. Let's take that with the check. And white cannot recapture me. Okay, so we're ahead material. I think the easiest thing is going to be to just trade. I could throw in a check, try to do some fancy stuff here, but no, I don't think that really makes sense. Let's just trade. And remember what I said about rooks on the second rank. Look at all of those juicy targets for this guy. Going to be very difficult for white to defend everything. I'm going to just put that rook there right away. Of course, I do need to continue developing, but this is just a good opportunity. I'm not worried about any back rank mates because I have this square for my king, so that actually works out nicely for me. Got the knight in the center ready to go in case we need it, and it's looking very, very nice. Okay, so white does try to defend, and I think I will take this moment to simply continue developing. So let's bring the knight out, also attacks the pawn. Okay, so rook is under attack. What are our options? We move it, we defend, or we counterattack, right? I'm thinking of taking here. We get a pawn, we also defend. I'm just concerned about the move f3, because then it's attacking my knight, and if I have to move my knight, excuse me, I will lose my rook. So the question is, do we have anything else that we could play? Maybe the knight could hop in, and after takes, but then my knight's kind of stuck in the corner. Do I really like that? Also play bishop to b4, and yes, there's c3, but then we do have a fork, but then we lose our rook, so I'm not really happy about that. But what I could do is check, take this one, and then after this happens, then I can go for the fork. I'm going to be getting a whole bunch of pawns and a rook for losing my knight and bishop, which I think in this case is kind of like a big trade. So with all that in mind, a little bit more advanced there, but I am going to play bishop to b4. And you're going to see if they play c3 what I'm talking about here. Which I think we might see that. Because this person seems to be able to see some basic tactics. Seems like they are, yeah, pretty aware of what's going on. So they're trying to cut off my bishop from defending the rook. So what I had analyzed was that I was going to take here. Yes, I'm going to lose my bishop, but I do have this fork. And after king here, what I had analyzed previously was I was going to take the rook and then just start gobbling up some more pawns. Now that I'm looking at it, though, I can actually take here with this fork, which might be the better way to do it. So yeah, here's an example of where the line that I had calculated turns out to not be the best. I think these are still good, right? This is what I was talking about. I was going to get, you know, at least, maybe I'll take this one probably. I was going to get the rook. I was going to get 1, 2, maybe even 3 pawns for my knight and bishop that I lost, which is a decent trade since I'm already ahead. But on further investigation, this actually looks like a stronger move, and I will do that. I could even go back and then take this. So I got a free pawn, or if I want, I could take this. So what's the best way to do it? My knight would be stuck in the corner, but then I wouldn't lose the knight, whereas if here I might lose it. Or we could do this, bring the rook over, and actually just go for checkmate. That actually even looks better. And what I'm noticing here is the king doesn't have a lot of options, right? Look at how it's basically almost checkmated already. Maybe even this is the best move. Maybe this is the best move. Yep, I keep changing because I keep seeing better moves. So here we go. The threat is checkmate. Threat is simply checkmate. King can't move. So all I have to do is put it in check. So here we go. Knight h3 does stop that. But we also have this checkmate. I just noticed that. Yeah, so we have 2 checkmate threats. Yeah, okay. So I don't think white can stop both of those, can they? Maybe rook c2. Maybe rook c2. All right, they stopped this one. But then we have, like I mentioned, this is another one as well. Okay. Good game to my opponents. They played pretty well, honestly, for their rating. All right, let's play a new 10-minute game. Okay, here we go. Sicilian. So I'll try to play my bishop b5 line. Perfect. So bishop b5. Um, I like this one because two reasons. Number one, it kind of is what you would call unorthodox. It's not the main line. The main line is definitely d4, and it's rare that people will just immediately throw the bishop out. So that's the first point. The second point is it's a bit more positional, I would say, which is kind of what Sicilian players are not really used to. And so it basically has a lot of surprise value, is what I'm trying to say. Okay. When they do this, there's a couple ways you can approach it. I think the easiest thing is to just take it and castle. And usually if this bishop gets attacked, I just drop it back. Yep. That's what we're going to see. I just drop it back to b3. And a lot of times players will try to attack your pawn. And what you can do is just defend it. You can actually just make this pyramid here. Yep. Like this. And it's a super solid pawn. It's hard to really, for black to really do anything unless they're willing to play f5, which exposes their king. And you just have this really solid position. You don't have any weaknesses. There's really nothing for your opponent to attack. And the typical way that you would develop your pieces would look something like this. Queen goes to e1. And the point is that you're going to try to pair it with your bishop somehow. So maybe I go like this, and I bring my bishop over here. Maybe I bring my queen here, put my bishop like this, and line up on this side. Maybe I eventually bring it over here, pair it up with the bishop somehow. So let's, as an example, we'll play queen g3, attack this, and also we're keeping in mind like we can bring this bishop out somewhere if we need to. I'm also going to show you another way that you can attack. It's with a4, and it's a way to activate your rook. But again, look at my positions. Is anything on the board undefended? Like literally every one of my pieces is defended. This is defended really well. These pawns are defended really well. My bishop's defended really well. Queen's defended. It's just in a safe square. Everything's defended. My king is safe. And so even though I haven't developed, it's just such a solid position. So very, very difficult for, even at the higher levels, for your opponents to figure out how to break this down. Okay, so they do play g6, which stops this threat. But whenever I see this move, I'm always starting to think about the dark squares that are now weaknesses. Okay, so bishop g5, bishop f4, maybe trying to come in here. All of these moves come to mind. I also do have that a4 idea like I mentioned, but I think for right now what I'll do is just play bishop to g5. Just trying to develop the pieces. And for example, if the knight like moves here, I'm bringing my bishop. Okay, so f6. The problem for black is that these pawns can never go backwards. And so weaknesses are being created every time they push a pawn. Even though I lost a move here by going here, that's okay. I'm just going to drop back probably to d2. I can't go here. Obviously, I could go here, but then I'm going to get chased around again, most likely. I think d2 is the square. A little bit annoying for my knight. So I am going to keep an eye on this and think through this. Maybe after a4, we hop the knight over to a3. I don't want my knight to be stuck here indefinitely. But black has created some weaknesses, so I'm pretty happy with that. So yeah, let's go ahead and play a4, and we'll see about activating the rook over here. Okay, so they are going to let me take this. Do I want to trade these off? Or do I want to do something else? I'm thinking about bishop h6, actually. And I know it seems like I'm jumping this bishop around a lot. But one of the things about when you have a nice and solid position like this, and there's not really any weaknesses, you can afford to make some moves back and forth if you're slowly but surely kind of creating weaknesses and then taking advantage of those weaknesses. And that's kind of what's happening here. So I am going to do that. And it is with tempo on the rook, so I'm not really like wasting too much time. But I'm just trying to take advantage of the weaknesses that black has created. And honestly, black is playing really well for 600. Like they're playing almost like I would expect like a 17, 1800 to play. I haven't seen any mistakes. Let me see when this account was created. Now they've been playing for a while. Yeah, just playing very well, I would say. So let's just think through this. Probably it's time to get the knight into the game. So let's go ahead and play knight to d2. And at some point, I may start to try to attack the king. So I've had my little solid pyramid here for a while. I've induced some weaknesses on black's king, and now I think it might soon be time. Maybe I'll bring this rook over. I'm still trying to see what I want to do here. If I want to trade this, I want to push this. But at some point, I may start thinking about pushing this and trying to get at black's king. Okay, bishop d6, not a bad move. Where do we want the queen to go? Here. Puts pressure on this pawn, potentially over here. Here, puts pressure here. Go back here. A lot of options. A lot of options. Let's go queen h3. Because that looks like a tough pawn for black to defend. Good way. We'll see what they're going to do. We also have this bishop lined up here. And so I'm starting to look for tactics or ways to take advantage of this. And so I'm kind of trying to put everything together here. Okay, queen to d7. So one thing that comes to mind on this move is that this pawn is now pinned from a diagonal recapture, right? Because I would take the queen. So can I get away with this? There is a knight, there's a bishop, and then the rook defense. So it looks like it's fine for black. So I don't think I can actually do anything, but I was keeping an eye on that. So I think I'll go ahead and trade here, and maybe I will try to invade on the A file. So there's a lot of ways you can do this. You can just go straight for the king with something like this, or kind of a slower approach, but also a viable one is, if you look at the board, where's the only open file? It's the A file. And by doing this little trade, because I've sort of taken the rook out of the game by forcing it here, and the queen now is up here, it couldn't recapture, I can see this as an opportunity to get control of that A file. And that's a big deal, especially when there's only one pair of rooks on the, or one rook for each side. Whoever gets control of that open file, it's going to be very difficult for black to ever regain control. So it's kind of this like long-term advantage that I have. And I can just constantly be on the lookout for invading with my rook and starting to attack stuff laterally, okay? And black has to be careful because their king is stuck on the back rank, right? There could be even back rank mate ideas at some point. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is look at, like I mentioned, do I want to invade with my rook? Now, obviously, these squares are taken, but I could go to a7 or a5. Now, a7 looks attractive because it's pinning the bishop. The issue that I'm noticing is this knight. The knight could probably move to one of these squares, and I believe I would just have to move away. So it's kind of going to be a wasted move. Although, now that I look further, let's just say knight c6. What if I sacrifice, lure the queen away, and jump in here with my queen? So I'd be getting a bishop and a pawn for my rook, but I'm also starting to open up this diagonal, which looks super dangerous. Looks super dangerous for black. So upon further investigation, that actually does look pretty good. I think I will do that. There's also going to potentially be a bishop attack now that I'm looking at those well on my rook. But again, same idea. Sacrificing, bringing the queen in. And a lot of times, if you can sacrifice a rook for a minor piece and a pawn, so a minor piece is a knight and a bishop, so a bishop and a pawn or knight and a pawn, and you get some compensation, a lot of times it's worth it. And I think that's what's happening here. By getting rid of this pawn, I'm getting compensation along this diagonal. Opens up tactics, opens up threats, opens up things that black has to watch out for. I think I will go for that. Now, if I didn't have that follow-up, probably wouldn't have played this move because then it seems like I'm just going to have to waste time going backwards. But I am ready. If I see this move, this move, this move, I'm going to be taking that, and then I'm going to be taking this. There we go. Okay, so let's just verify that I'm not blundering something crazy. Queen's going to come in, pins the rook. This is now a weak pawn. If this captures, it also opens up my bishop. Looks super great. I'm going to follow through with that, and we'll sacrifice the rook. And it might not look like I have much right now, but you're going to see as soon as these pawns get captured, all of a sudden black's king is going to be under major fire from the queen and the bishops. So that's kind of what I'm banking on by giving up this rook, that it's going to be worth it, right? And even if you can get, if you can get like a knight or a bishop and 2 or 3 pawns for a rook, absolutely worth it. So here we go. Just scanning for like some crazy tactics where I lose my queen or lose a piece or something. I don't see any. So the queen's coming in, and now the bishop is going to be following. Okay, so queen here. First thing I want to identify is what's the threat. I do see the black's attacking here. It's not like a massive threat that I'm super scared of. Like I could allow that to happen. I would simply move my king over and okay, the game goes on. If I want to stop it, of course I could play g3. But I think I want to follow through with my plan of just bringing the other bishop in and creating this threat. So it's a toss-up between these. Now, actually, if I do this, there's a sacrifice, and I might get perpetual checked. And maybe not. I have king f1, but still kind of more scary than I really want the game to be. I think I would rather... Yeah, I think I would rather just let them capture this pawn and move my king over. This would be much more dangerous if the queen was in front, but because it's the bishop, very easy for me to sidestep it with my king. All right, so with that in mind, I am going to take here with the bishop, and now I have a serious threat. I actually have checkmate in 2 moves being threatened if black doesn't stop it. Of course, they can get a check. They still have to stop the checkmate after that. So, okay, they do stop it. Yeah, pretty nice move, I think. Although, if you look carefully, what happens when these pieces are lined up like this? It's a pin on the rook, which means the rook cannot move, which means the rook cannot defend, which means if I want, I can just take this pawn. And I think I do want to do that because then it threatens to take the rook with my bishop. Also threatens checkmate because why? Again, the rook is pinned. It cannot defend. So this looks like a killer move. And even though I'm getting low on time, I'm going to spend some time here to just double check. Why? Because this probably is about to be the end of the game. That's what I'm feeling like, right? So it's worth it to spend a few extra seconds to make sure. Here's the pin. Does the knight have any crazy discoveries? And of course, you can take there, but I would just take. Not worried about that. The knight can hop around. Doesn't really change anything. Queen can't go anywhere. Can't come down here. Yeah, I don't really see anything, so I will take this. More of an advanced tactic, but a very powerful one. You can see what I was talking about. When that bishop gets involved along that diagonal, everything starts to fall apart for black, right? So that's why going back to that decision to give up my rook was based on the fact that, hey, this bishop invading black's position was going to be super, super powerful. And I don't know how black is dealing with everything now. There's a lot of threats here. I might take this. That's just a checkmate in 1 move being threatened because the rook is basically not, a non-factor. Tough position for black. Okay, black does stop the checkmate, which honestly I was surprised. I'm surprised that black found that, but they did. So let's think about this. We have, this is defended, so I'm not going to be taking the knight. This makes sense. I could take it. I guess we could trade there. Actually seems like a decent option. I could trade here first and then take there. Which one is the best? I'm thinking if I take here and the queen takes, then I could actually just take the knight. Because I'm getting low on time, I don't want to like overthink it. That seems pretty good. Generally speaking, when you have a pin like this, as long as there's no risk for the pin going away, you don't have to just take it right away. You can just leave it. I think I will do that. Let's go ahead and take this one. Pin's not really going anywhere unless the king moves. Okay, the queen moves, and here we go. Now I can take the knight because it's no longer defended. And guess what? The rook is still there. Like I said, it's not going anywhere. I can still take it next move. So I'm just getting as much as I can, right? Getting this piece for free first, and I'm still going to get the bishop for rook trade later. But I don't even have to take it now. It's still pinned. I can just keep taking other stuff, right? I can take here. Move my knight around a few times if I want. Okay. Tricky move. But I think I see a simple solution here. Just coming in with the queen. And basically what I'm trying to do is take the rook with check. So if the king moves, that's what I would like to do. Of course, if the queen moves, I'm going to trade everything and go into a winning endgame where it's super simple. You do have 1 minute, so I do want to pay attention to that and not get bogged down overthinking something here. So I'm going to be looking for a simplifying trade and then using my material advantage to win. Really, I want to trade queens because without trading queens, it gets tricky. If the queen comes in here, all of a sudden it's a complicated position and I have to worry about that. Okay, so how do I just trade everything? Simplest thing, probably just to take here with a check and then take the queen. That's actually not even a trade. That's just a free rook. So here we go. Now it's simple. 1 minute is plenty of time. Take the pawns, get a queen in the game. Not expecting that move, but it's okay. We can just play c3, take this, get a queen. Pretty well played by our opponent, honestly. I want to do the game review on this one just to see, because I felt like our opponent played very well for 600. Yeah, show you the 80 accuracy. I am surprised at how many 5 and 600s have been playing with 80 accuracy. That's very, very good, in my opinion, for a 600. So I don't know if we've just been getting some you know, anomalies or what's going on, but I've been very surprised by that. Anyway, let's play one more game for this video, and we'll call it good. All right, here we go. Last 10 minutes for this one. All right. Maybe we'll try another Ruy Lopez just since that's what we've been going with. Okay, plays the Berlin. I think we can safely just castle here. The point is we're giving this pawn up because we have the follow-up rook sliding over, and so if black wanted to take that, that's what we would have done. Now I will defend it, but primarily I just want to get my bishop out. Okay, let's draw back. Let's draw it back again. Okay, knight to d4. Do we want to trade? Do we want to allow this? Usually, you don't want to give up your bishop just for no reason at all, like giving up the bishop pair. So I don't think I want to allow black to take that. With that in mind, I think I will trade this off. Also, if I don't trade, then I have to potentially worry about a pin, and then it actually gets kind of annoying for me. But I think trading it off and now just c3 makes the most sense. Why am I playing c3? Because I want to strike at d4 and get the center. Okay, that's a blunder. So let's think through this tactically. The obvious move of just taking would simply result in a trade. Actually, not a trade that I would enjoy. The rook's going to be opened up. However, can I throw in a move before I take that? Well, the answer is yes. I can take here. Black doesn't have time to save their bishop, or I'm taking the queen. And let's just say they take me, then I take the piece. So just a little tactical calculation. But here we go. And we're going to win a piece. Just like that, we have a very big lead. Okay. So the dust has kind of settled. I don't see anything obvious that I can do. And so with that in mind, continue developing. Okay. Rooks to half open files. Seems like it makes sense. Maybe bringing the queen or the knight over here. Try to trade. Also kind of makes sense. I think I'll start with the rook to the c file. Okay. Whenever you see something lined up on your king, just ask yourself, what's going on? Are there any tactics? What about bishop to h3? This is a good one to keep in mind. Threatening checkmate. Now, I'm not worried about it because I do have queen to f3, but you do want to make sure that you at least plan for that. All right, so I've planned for it. Go ahead and take the pawn. Okay, here we go. Queen to f3. Defends the checkmate. Also attacks the bishop so that black has to move it away. Because even though my pawn can't take it, my queen can. We're also piling up on this square. We have 3 pieces attacking it. Now, currently, it's defended 3 times, but I am going to keep an eye on that. Okay. We could take a bishop, but then what happens? We lose a rook. Do I really want to lose a rook? No, I don't. I could trade here. And if the rook captures, I'd be happy. I'd win a piece. But the bishop could capture and just an even trade. The other option is I can slide this rook over and double up here. I think I like the look of that the best. So let's play rook over to c1. All right, bishop g4. So queen's under attack. Probably should move it. Where's the best place? G3 or f4? I'm going to go with g3. Keeps it in line with the queen, which I'm happy to trade since I'm up a piece, right? And so I think this is a good square. Recapture. And most likely I'll be playing h3 next. I like h3 for a couple of reasons. Number one, gives my king an escape square if I ever need it from the back rank. Number two, forces the bishop to move, and I can trade queens. Because I am ahead, trading queens is a good thing. Now, I actually get the bonus. That's a mistake because the bishop is going to be undefended after the pawn recaptures. So there we go. Now we have 2 pieces. Very easy endgame to win from here. All right, so let's just see what's an easy target. These pawns. Let's go knight to f3 and attack that one. Also defends my bishop, so bonus there. Okay. Let's see. How about we go... Can we force a trade? I think I see a way to force a trade. So, in the mindset of trading makes it easier, Black's only really big remaining piece that can do much is the rook. So by trading that off, it's going to make my life super easy. So I'm going to go here, almost force a trade. You can go here, but it opens up the back rank for this tactic, which looks really dangerous. Maybe I don't actually have anything immediately, but it's almost checkmate. So I'm trying to see if there's a way that I can make this work. So for example, I can move this bishop wherever I want to check. The king's going to go back. I could take here, but then the king would take. So I need to use the knight somehow. So maybe knight to e6 so that I can go check, check, mate. Yeah, knight to e6 should do it. And basically the threat is to go check, force the king here. Knight will come in. King has to go back. And then we would take here with checkmate because the bishop's controlling that square. So this is pretty hard to stop unless Black's sacrifice the rook or something. Okay, they didn't do it. So let's go ahead and follow through with that checkmate. Here's the check. Here's the knight coming in. And only squares to go there. And then check. And then we have mate with the rook. That's a pretty cool one. All right. So yeah, it's just weird because let's check the game review on this one. Previous opponent played at an 80. Let's see this one. Well, this person played 82. Interesting. It just didn't feel like an 80. The other one felt like solid 80. This one was didn't feel like a solid 80. I guess because it was a shorter game. Very interesting. Anyway, hope you guys learned something. And we're at 6. What are we at? 642? 642. So we're getting there. We're getting there. I know it's slow, but we'll be at 1,000 before you know it, and it'll start to get some more challenging games. So thank you guys as always. Stay sharp, play smart, and take care.